been a while. As you can see, I'm in a different truck again. Changed jobs, didn't get paid. Been a bit skint lately, so I've been working for everybody. We're in a bendy one without the bendy bit on the back at the moment. Anyway, I digress. The 13th, I will be there, and it seems like so many what you might have called in the old days the normies, or what would seem to be the sheep back in the old days, they're all going up. These are the people that have been putting all the flags above all the bridges on the motorways, that have been painting the roundabouts, that have literally just been showing that actually we've had enough and we're proud of our country. Now, Tommy put up a video, and whether you like Tommy or not, this is important, and I would stand with him on this and many other things. But however, this is important to show up. A massive show of numbers. And to make it clear, not force, numbers. Don't be going up there getting drunk, because that'll look bad. Do not fight. Regardless, there will be provocation. There will be agents, provocateurs amongst us. There will be people the other side. And they'll be trying to cause as much violence as possible. And the TV will try and capture that to go against the narrative. Well, to go with their narrative they're trying to set up. There's people coming from all over the country to be there. They're probably going to end up there the night before. I booked a trip to France on the bikes to see the war graves and the beaches. It's the only holiday that I'm going to get, and it's the only actual holiday that I've had since '97, so I don't feel too bad for taking that, but it's really going to be on a budget. But we're going over there, coming back, and I will go to the demo. What was I going to say? I was watching footage from, I think it was either the very late 70s, I think, yeah, it was Wood, right, and it was about the National Front. And the National Front were walking through Lewisham, back in London, near London, in London, Great London, whatever. And they'd sent out the National Socialist Workers' Party. Yet again, socialism or Marxism or whatever you want to call it. And these people, they were videoed by ITN as it was, and they rerouted the National Front March, which was all hard-working men, right? Yeah, mainly white. They were worried about the indigenous race of this country back then, and to be honest, why wouldn't you? Because it does seem that the people who want to reduce the population of the planet, that's their plan, because there's too many of us, are importing people that breed like hell. So that kind of narrative doesn't fit, unless what they're actually trying to do is totally replace us. And I'm going to say this, that is their plan. They want to do away with the white race, right, in Europe. Now, if you watched Barbara Spector, she made a point about saying this, and she said that her group will be at the front of this, and we won't like it, and it's the only way Europe will be, or will exist. This monolithic, as she put it, thing has to stop, and it has to be diversity. That was code word for breathe the whitey out, okay? That was her plan, not mine. She said it, her own words. It's all over the YouTube. You can see it for yourself, Barbara Spector. Have a look, right? And once you've seen that, you're like, how fucking dare you? How dare you decide what's going to happen to Europe and what's going to happen to the white race, you fucking prick? Now, Jews don't see themselves as white, but she looked fucking white to me, so I couldn't even call her a racist, but I could call her prejudiced. I could call her, what's the other word we used to call it? It'll come to me. Anyway, so many people have woken up in such a hurry that you're going to have to kind of manage them, all right? Before they go off on any weird tangent and get themselves in a whole world of pain, remember, if you're watching this, you're fairly experienced already of what's going on, what's coming, and what to expect. You are going to have to guide these people. That is a responsibility that, if you're any sort of a human being, you would be a good idea if you take on, because misguided people can cause more harm than people not doing anything, all right? So, now, some of you may notice that I've not been doing so much on YouTube. When I started on YouTube, it was because most people didn't know what was going on. They do know what's going on. The next step in where we are and what we're doing, right, is to work in your immediate community. Because if something huge went off, it's not as if you could network with somebody off the internet right up in wherever it is and come together. You might be able to speak to them about how best to protect, look after their own people wherever they are, but by then you would have thought that these people would have been clued up and got a community together. The reason they're getting rid of communities at the moment is because communities will eventually, in times that are bad, come together. You've only got to look at things like massive events like snow events or flooding. People that never speak to each other from one day to the next come very friendly with each other and all work together. Well, you could call a massive snow bomb where people can't get out and get fed as a life-threatening event, right? Or a serious threat to them, all right, to their health or whatever. You could call flooding, very obviously, a threat to them. But you could also call a group of individuals, fighting age men, coming over here, which we've seen them on Western Beach, forming up, doing some weird sort of thing, preparing. You could call them a threat to your safety if that's the direction they go. How would you best prepare? And I've got to say this in the most law-abiding sense possible. The best way that you can make sure that your community is safe is by building a community, all right? I'm not asking you to go out and do anything illegal. Start networking, start building up your friendships with other people who are similar thinking to yourself, regardless of their colour or sexuality. If these people love their country, right, and they're good at heart, good eggs, they don't follow some death cult, all right, you know who they are, right? If these people are good eggs, you're going to need each and every one of them to make sure that your future remains a happy, bright and secure future. So this is why I've been focusing more within the village that I'm in, because they're going to try to move these lunatics into all the villages, because I don't know if you've noticed, their intentions are to disband these hotels and throw these people into the community. Every community has to be blighted by immigrants who have no love for this country, who have no allegiance to our culture, our flag. Now, here's the thing. Loyalists over in Ireland are loyal to our crown and loyal to our flag and loyal to England. Great Britain, look at it, right? I should say. Me personally, I cannot be loyal to the crown, because as I see it, the crown is playing its part in this world orchestrated Islamic takeover of Western cultures. He knows exactly what's going on. He plays a massive part in that fraud, the green tax and so on and so forth. So I've no time for the man. And I have to say that when he eventually meets his maker, he'll have a lot to explain. And I certainly won't miss him. Now, I'm under no illusion that that entire family, because of its past, because of what it's been involved in, is compromised and will never act in the best interests of the people. So I've no time for it. Now, some of you may feel differently, but in time, I've got a feeling that you won't. That was another point I was thinking of. So far, most of you have been saying stuff that went against the grain for the last 10 years, maybe longer. And now you're being proved right each year in a massive way. This is not the time to stand with your chest out saying, I told you so. Because the next load of things you're going to tell these people about where it's going, they're not going to believe that either. Why? Because unfortunately, it's taken so much for them to comprehend the exact situation that we're in, and most of them aren't there. Imagine this is a linear scale. Complete sheep believes everything the BBC, the media, or whatever tell them. To completely eyes open, right? Think for themselves, do their own research. You will meet people at different levels along here. And if, say, for instance, you're around about here, they're going to have a real job believing what's coming out of your mouth if they're over there. Even if X amount of years ago, you were saying stuff that they're saying now. I know it's difficult, right? I know you've got to have some fucking patience, and I know we don't have a lot of time. But you have to understand that we all were learning. None of us were born knowing stuff. We all had to experience or learn from somebody. Just so happens that most of the population were brainwashed literally from the moment they popped out until the moment they die. And in the meantime, they'll be good working little debt slaves. They'll either be slaves to chemistry, i.e. drug slaves, they'll either be pharmaceutical slaves, or they'll be debt slaves. That'll be people like you and me. These are people that have aspirations, We were told at school that if we worked hard and did well and believed everything they told us, that we'd do well. That was a lie, because they wanted us to be blue-collar workers that never achieved any amount of asset, because that's not good. If people have assets, they have time to take off and they can actually stick their head above the parapet, look around and go, hang on a second, something wrong here. So you've always got to keep these people panicking about their bills. Are they going to get the next bill paid? And that's what you've got to keep them completely overwhelmed with, because if they have time on their hands, they can become a problem, which is why we are where we are. Of course, the other people that are on the benefits, some people need it, other people generally scams, right? These people do not want to displease the machine because they want to get their money for free. Obviously, the people who are generally needing the benefits, well, they'll get taken off the benefits because that's just how life works. Or if they don't get taken off, they'll have it reduced. It seems the evil system will reward the worst people and they will punish the good people, because, well, let's be honest, you don't want good people out there because they might turn against your evil plans. Now, this seems a bit far-fetched and a bit hard to grasp, so you're probably further down this scale at the moment than I am. Don't worry, you will catch up. I'm not being arrogant, it's a fact. When I first got told about who actually ran the country, who ran the world, why they were doing it, and what was going on, I just couldn't believe it. It was too much for me to take. Now, there's people still at that stage, and as I say, there's people further on. This march that you go to will be networking, because you're going to tell people that have just come out to understanding a bit the next level, and you've got to be patient with them. But the key part about them trying to ruin pubs, trying to ruin little clubs, and all the rest of it is, what do geezers talk about? I have not heard much else talked about, apart from football, rugby, sport, than immigrants, Dover, coming across a channel, rape gangs, what are we going to do? Which is the exact reason that you'll get a pub closed down every day. They do not want working class men of whatever ilk coming together and talking about the problem that faces them, because who knows, they might get organised. So I have become quite an active member of a local club. Whether that club was going downhill because the people who were in charge of it before were doing things one way, and we've decided to go a different way, and from what I can gather it's working. We're getting new members in, and we're going to build up a community of hard-working, law-abiding citizens, right, who will all get on together, who will all work together, and who will all support each other. A strong community would be a very difficult community to fuck with. Look at, say, for instance, other places in the world which are further on than we are, all right? These people are already at the stage of building strong communities, who are aware of what's coming and who have taken legal precautions. You know, you watch my back, I'll watch yours. Now, some lefties would say, oh, he's trying to organise an army. No. Or he's trying to think about ways of attacking. No. So that obviously that blows them out of the water. Now, I have to stay within the guidelines of YouTube and also the guidelines of the law, because there is nothing more they'd like to do than arrest people like me and take me away. So you make sure that everything you're saying online is legal, because remember that division of the army that was put in place in the cyber community to look for any attacks from external sources outside the country? No, love, they're not so fussed about that anymore. They're coming after you. They are out there to crush any dissenting voice. Do you remember during COVID the biggest I would say hoax, and if you looked at it another way, the biggest social test in compliance, and if you look to the future, you might call it a would it be called a Holocaust? I don't know, because so many people will die prematurely and they knew it, right? Call it what you want, but psyop, I don't know. But do you remember how they came after people, arrested people, took people's freedoms away, took their voice away? Don't think that they're not going to use all of these tactics on us going forward. But unfortunately, they've realised that the cat is out the bag, that the genie is out the bottle. I could use many more of those, but you get the idea. That the people have now woken up and they are facing a fucking shitstorm. I don't think that they hadn't planned for this. This is all part of the plan now. We're walking into a trap, but we have no other recourse. What they want to do is they'll create a situation. Into that situation, the people eventually will respond. They thought it would be sooner, but we're taking our time. And when we do respond, that is when they will bring out the army. When they bring out the army, they bring in martial law. They'll also bring in internment, which is what they did back in the late 60s, well, the early 70s, I think it was, over in Northern Ireland. I use that as a test bed for here because it'll be exactly the same. And these super prisons will be for internment. Anybody who sticks out there and it is more of a, say for instance, a leader of a community or an active person who leads in some way or another, be it on social media, be it getting events organised, whatever, these people, they will come for and they will lock them up without trial, and they'll do it under the guise of public safety, security. They'll say that these people are a threat to the country. They say they are terrorists, which is exactly what they said over there, and some of them were, right? They'll be going off alleged intelligence, and that intelligence will be fabricated, because if you look at any great trial that's happened up and down the country, what happens, or it seems to me, that they stop looking at the facts and they just go with whatever they can make up to take that person who is a figure down, so it disheartens other people and other people are less likely to come forward. But unfortunately, they don't know the human spirit, because when they did the internment over in Ireland, what they actually did was they sent thousands running to the IRA to sign up, all right? And the IRA simply couldn't absorb the amount of numbers of people into the place, right? And they certainly didn't have the amount of weapons to get to the people, right? Now, we're not talking about weapons here, but I'm giving you a history on Northern Ireland. There will be internment in the future. When you start waking up and you start taking matters into your own hands and going against what these police are trying to do to us, etc., then they will put that plan into effect. Bear that in mind. Anyway, I will see you there on the 13th. Now, if anybody who's organising anything wants me to be a part of something, let me know early so that I can network. All right, I'll see you in a bit.